Witches, it's me, Luna, here with an actual unboxing for you today. This arrived on my doorstep earlier today, and it is the Edmund Dulac Tarot. I saw this deck on somebody else's unboxing, and I was intrigued because the name of it, I thought it was going to be like a really old historic deck, just that Dulac. But I think what I was remembering was an old, like the really old Robin Hood series from the late 80s, early 90s from England. I think there was something about a Dulac there and it rang my bell. Anyhow, I also really like the artwork. So let's rip this sucker open and see what we got. See, this is why I don't do true unboxings, because it's a pain in the ass to get through the wrappers. Alright. And of course, was there a zip strip in the middle? Yeah, of course there was. I never look for things that make sense like that. Alright, so here we go. Beautiful. I mean, it's a regular little tuck box. This is Lo Scarabeo. Edmund Dulac Tarot. Same thing there. And then we just have nice close-up artwork. So let's get zoomed in. Take you all the way down. All right. Here we go. And I'm thinking maybe this is not the best idea. There we go. Too much glare. All right. So you can see the beautiful, absolutely gorgeous artwork. It really looks old style. I love that they filled up the whole back with it. This, when I got it, I hadn't looked at the publisher, and I was sure it was going to be a US Games deck because it's the typical tuck box. And, okay, we're going to look and see if there's a zip strip this time, which, of course, there isn't. But that's a lot easier. All right. So we have the card that you get with LS decks now, which is an ad for Tarosophy, the Tarot Association Worldwide, which is Marcus Katz, and I belong to their Facebook page. I'm not a member of the organization. But Marcus Katz, I do have a book of his, and I can't remember the female author. Very knowledgeable and a good source for tarot and divination decks. Look at the backs. They're beautiful. So these are non-directional, so you can't tell when they're reversed. And let's take a quick look at the book just to see how many pages are devoted to the English before we get to so 21 pages. You know, typical with LS, there are several languages and just a fraction of the book for each language. I want to see if I can, let's read the introduction, because I'd like to know more about this artist. This deck was born of the extraordinary artistry of the master Edmund Dulac. Born in Toulouse, France in October 1882, that's okay. Dulac obtained English citizenship in February of 1912. He passed away in Toulouse on May 25, 1953. Edmund Dulac is considered one of the most famous and important illustrators of the Anglo-Saxon world. Okay, now I know why the name is ringing a bell. Particularly in the golden age of illustration that went from the end of the 19th century to the beginning of the 20th. His art developed throughout different phases, covering illustrations for books and magazines, caricatures, and even banknotes and postage stamps. The most distinctive trait of Dulac's work, the very trait that makes it extraordinarily fitting for tarot decks, is its ability to evoke both the elements of a story and the world behind it within the same scene. For Dulac, setting and costumes become a canvas for human emotion in both their greatness and their simplicity. In his images, human and majestic elements coexist and strengthen one another to reach a unified result. This deck is both a homage to the great artist's work and a tool for reading the tarot. Dulac's art becomes a medium for the traditional meanings of the arcana to resonate with the intuition of the reader and the querent. The meanings suggested hereafter can be a guide to using the deck. They help interpret the card and its image using one's intuition, and they provide keywords that allow for an immediate reading for whomever may need it. All right. So we don't have just standard meanings here, but that explains to me. I have a set of books. There are these Time Life series books on, magic and wizards and gnomes and trolls and ghosts and stuff, and they're fabric covered hardback books. Fabulous illustrations, and I'm absolutely sure his illustrations are in them. So now I feel better about knowing why that rings a bell for me so much. Okay, and here is a face card. So we do have 2 cards to use for blocking the deck. And looky here. Here we go. First thing I'm struck with is just the darkness of the images. They look much lighter on camera than what I'm looking at here. And just to fuck around a little bit more. Yeah, too much glare for you. It helps me, not you. Anyway, we see the Fool here like in mid-air, like way, way up high, and there's someone behind him. I don't know who that person... Okay, there's wings. It's like the Fool has wings. Let's read. Lighthearted and optimistic, he walks the sky, unhampered by roads or borders. He is free, ready to break the rules. Whoever travels with him on his back between his wings can be reborn and rediscover youth and enthusiasm. And then in italics, it has new beginnings, enthusiasm, originality. So you do have the standard, just, pithy keywords. But the meaning, the written meaning, actually is about this specific image. I really love that. I like the borders, top and bottom. I should say this is a standard size deck. So if you're used to, standard Rider weight, the cardstock feels standard as well as the size of the deck. And here we have the Magician. Look at him approaching the altar, and we see the censer burning and the sword. So you can't really see each of the elemental symbols here as you do in the standard tarot deck. In the cave of the mind, the master of hidden paths uses his will like a sword to make the creative force in his soul blossom. So we do have, another description. And here's the High Priestess. Okay. I'm going to bring her closer for you. There's a lot of subtlety in these images. Delicacy, subtlety. He obviously works with a very light hand. It reminds me a little bit of Alan Lee. Alan Lee and John Howe were the 2 illustrators that had illustrated Tolkien's works a lot and ended up being conceptual artists on the Lord of the Rings movies. And it just reminds me, watching Alan Lee work, pencil barely touching the paper. It's really ethereal. And here we have the Empress. She refutes the opulence and vanity that surround her. The peacock's tail behind her is closed. The peacock's tail behind her. I guess it's that. And the adulations of men lay ignored at her feet. She prefers contact with the flower or the sight of nature's beauty over power. Okay. And then we have the Emperor. I'm not going to read every one of these, obviously. The Hierophant. Ooh! Look at that. From the top of the tallest tower in the world, he shows preoccupied minds the way, allowing them to elevate themselves. At the same time, he forces evil to stay low, and he watches over it with constant vigilance. So this is much more like a magician than an orthodox priest. And here we have the Lovers. Just the darkness, the contrast, the depth of these images I find so appealing. The softness of the shading around them. Just beautiful. And here's the Chariot. So we've got like a Cinderella coach going through the mist or water. It moves ceaselessly, traveling its path even at night when the way is hard to see. Whoever is not on it must run to keep up with it. Okay. And then again, certainty in one's decisions, confidence, the will to move forward. So I'm glad that they have the typical keywords, but look at the look at the Strength card. Yes, indeedy. This is my dream, to have a pet panther. I do have a pie wagon. Okay, 9. Here's the Hermit. So we have the hint of a light up here, but he's in his study, locked away, looking out on everything. And here's the wheel. It's a spinning wheel. The Hanged Man. Oh, this is Justice, sorry. Interesting. If I didn't see the number and I didn't know the order of them, looking at that image, I would not know that's Justice in any way at all. A woman floats in the wind, her eyes closed. To avoid being dragged away, she holds the heavy bundle of her identity, her mistakes, and her desires. Wow. Finding equilibrium, making decisions, accepting correct compromises. Interesting interpretation of Justice. Okay, then we have the Hanged Man. And I guess the clue there is the fact that he's kind of semi-upside down. Then we have Death. Indeed. And Temperance. The Devil. Oh, that's lovely. The Tower. So we have, the typical keywords, but then there's added nuance that you can find within the image. And here's the Star. So you see the stars in the gown there. Just look at those beautiful, beautiful images. Okay. Then we have the Moon and the Sun. You can certainly see, the difference between the night and the day there. And here we have the Judgment card. Really kind of difficult to suss out this image. All right, I'm trying to get in on... I can't really see, is it all just swirly? Is there a face there? I can't tell. All right. Judgment. And then here's the World. Then we've got Cups up first. The Ace is a ship on the water. The 2 is a couple embracing, like on the box. Then there's the 3. Gatherings and celebrations. The 4. So, because these are just pulled from his work and put to use as a tarot deck, we don't have like the cups. I think it might have been nice. I mean, I love the unadulterated artworks, but it might have been nice to have, overlaid some of the things that we're used to seeing. Then again, maybe not. Here's the 5 of Cups. Oh, they're just so beautiful. The 6. There's a child in memory. An older lady, kind of looks like a Hansel and Gretel kind of affair. Here's the 7 of Cups. Oh, look at this. And the demon coming up here. So that gives you the idea of, just kind of turning things over in your mind, being haunted by things. A winged monster threatens a man lying on the rocks. The man has opened the vase that contained the monster. He now covers his face to avoid seeing the horrible creature. Giving in to one's nightmares, fear of consequences. Not something I'd ever really heard of for the 7 of Cups before. Okay. Here's the 8 of Cups. A man departs on a boat, holding all his belongings. He looks back at the place he's leaving. The need to leave and discover new things. All right. The 9. 2 beautiful maidens lay nude among the flowers on the banks of a swamp. They are free, calm, and they have given in to the beauty around them. And here's the Ten of Cups. The Page. Oh, we have Jack, Knight, Queen, and King. So here's the Jack, the Knight on a horse falling through the sky, the Queen, and the King. Wow. So we can tell by the symbols, the Jack has a helmet, the Knight has the horse, the Queen has this crown, and the King has this crown. All right. Now we are into Pentacles. It's the Ace, 2, 3. That definitely relates to the Standard. People planning, making plans together. Oh, look, Princess and the Pea. Let's read the 4. A maiden rests in a canopy bed on a stack of mattresses, the search for maximum comfort and stability, taking care of one's belongings. Okay. The 5. Snowy cold. Interesting. The meaning of 5 of coins here in the keywords is staying hopeful. The snow that covers the city takes the form of a white woman. Okay, I see her. She looks at the roofs and illuminated windows in amusement. Even the coldest night can hold wonders. So rather than, poverty and being left out in the cold and all those standard things, we definitely have a new vibe there of staying hopeful. Then we have the 6 of coins, charity. The 7, review. You can see that in their faces. The 8, apprenticeship. The 9, solitary abundance, and the 10, the stable family card. That's a gorgeous image. They all are. There's the Jack of coins, the Knight, the Queen, and the King. Then we've got wands. The Ace of Wands is like a fairy godmother. A fairy dressed in white points her glowing magic wand at a pumpkin. Next to her, a poor maiden waits for her miracle. There's the 2 of Wands, looking out. The 3, with ships coming in. We don't see any ships coming in, but the 4. So I'm going to say this is a deck that you either let it be your only deck and learn it inside and out, or that you need to really have internalized the Standard. To use it in that way. If you're not going to do that, if you don't know the Standard deck, then you are really going to have to learn this deck. 4 of Wands. 6 young women await someone's return by a clear fountain. The closest one holds a white flower, a celebrated return. Home as a place of pleasure, serenity, and welcome. There's the 5 of Wands. 3 bandits watch a sumptuous carriage come towards them. Imminent conflict, clash between opposing positions. So that's Standard. The 6 of Wands, victory. The 7, a woman rests in her bed. 2 guards armed with swords lay dormant outside the room. Lie dormant. And there's the 8 of Wands. Look at the women flying through the air. Come on. You want to pop in and you know it. You want it. There we go. Okay, 9. And the 10. Ooh, that's perfect. The Jack. The Knight. None of these knights are going anywhere, except the one falling through the air. That's the Knight of Water. The Queen. And the King. All right. Ace of Swords. There's a harpy coming in. Is that what they say it is? A winged monster approaches. A group of old warriors, knives in hand, are ready to defeat it. So that's a harpy for sure. Then we have the 2, kind of looking like Ophelia. The 3, ooh, look at that. Yikes. So there is certainly a darkness to this deck that I really like. There's the 4 of Swords. There's the 5. Isn't that the one that's on the back? Yes. The 6. Negotiating troubled waters. The 7. Thief. A man carries a girl out of the water in his arms. A bandit watches him from a cliff above, doing the right thing, not fearing trickery. Stay on your path. Very interesting meanings. They're definitely different. Here's the 8 of Swords. No blindfolds. The 9. Ooh, another demon. Creature from the nightmare bears down on the body of a sleeping man. And the 10. Yikes. A king is attacked and killed by 2 men armed with daggers and sabers. Then we have the Jack. The Knight. Now the Knight of Swords is going somewhere. The Queen and the King. Okay. Awesome. You know what I don't have? I don't have a charcoal ready. Let's fix that. As I also zoom you out. Come on. All right. Allies and ancestors, guides and guardians, thank you for being here with me as I take my first walk through and trial run of this new beautiful deck. It's got crumbs. Crumbs have come off of these cards. You probably can't see them, but I can. All right. Let's give it a shuffle. Surprisingly stiff. A little bit stiffer than I would expect from like a US Games deck. It shuffles beautifully, but it is just a bit stiff. Let's do a 3, and then we will... Oh, did a live stream last night, and that happened too. I put my candle out with the shuffle. So I offer fresh water and the fire of Azrael to my guides and to this deck. Help me connect and find meaning through the power of divination. All right, let me do one more riffle. And we're going to ask the standard test drive question for a standard tarot deck, and that is, how do we, in our current world, whatever situation you're in now, wherever we are in our journey on this planet, how do we go from, okay, didn't want to go back in. How do we go from survival mode into true thriving? Okay, so we've got the first 2 there. And let's look a little bit more through the book and see what they... So we see a 5-card spread suggested with nothing said about it. Now, I do remember recently another LS deck that had the spread described at the end. They show it at the beginning and describe it at the end. Okay, yes. A 5-card spread is recommended for Edmund Dulac's tarot. Its purpose is to help the reader distinguish between the rational and the emotional aspects of a situation. See the figure on page 2. So card number 1 is the facts. And we have the Tower. So we will read each of these now. From Le Book. Faces scream in the sky, feeling the wind of a storm. A man looks on from the top of a tower without shying away. He is as ready for battle as he is for a revelation. Keywords are resilience, determination in fighting for one's beliefs, and oncoming conflicts. Okay. Resilience, very interesting for the Tower. Talking about things breaking down. So the facts are that we are in a time of great transition. and we are called on to rely on our resilience. The facts right now are that we need to be resilient. Sometimes, life kind of supports you and feeds you along the way, and you can really relax into it. At other times, there are huge challenges, and we have to draw on our own resilience in order to endure and get through. So the facts are, yes, we're in resilient mode because we're under an onslaught. All right, card number 2 at the bottom is the Ten of Cups, and this one is opinions. The second card placed up high. All right, so here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here they have the first card placed at the base of the spread, indicates the objective aspects of a situation. It provides a good starting point for an analysis. This one placed up high, let's see, this kind of stuff bugs the shit out of me. That we have a schematic for the for the spread, and then we immediately do something completely different. I'm going to move that. Okay. So now, the second card placed up high completes the previous one. This card expands on the meaning of the previous card and completes it with the ideas, the thoughts, and the point of view of the querent. By comparing these two cards, one could obtain clues on how to separate facts from opinions. So facts are, we're under the gun, we need to be resilient. Opinions, Ten of Cups. A man and a woman are holding hands. The sea they have crossed is behind them now. They are hurrying back. Overcoming an obstacle, finding oneself again, happy endings. Okay, so even though we're being called on to be resilient because things are tough right now, how we feel is that we've come across the deep water and we're hurrying back to home. We're working to overcome this obstacle and find ourselves again and have a happy ending. Those are just the keywords straight out of the book. And it also says that we are exhibiting resilience. And if I go with, the meanings that are stored in my head, facts say the tower says things are breaking down. The way that we've known, the ways that we've known are combusting. They're falling apart. They're breaking down. They're being challenged. But how we're feeling about it is that we are resilient and we're going to come through this. Now, card 3, the rational reaction. This card suggests how the querent can react to the situation, bearing its logical and rational aspects in mind. This card's interpretation invites us to act thoughtfully and calmly and to move on one step at a time. All right, so this is going to be, and I'm just going to take them from the top here. The Fool. The rational reaction is to be like the fool, lighthearted and optimistic. He walks the sky unhampered by roads or borders. He's free, ready to break the rules. Whoever travels with him on his back between his wings can be reborn and rediscover youth and enthusiasm, new beginnings, enthusiasm, originality. So the rational reaction is to stay optimistic, to look at the breakdown, to look past the breakdown toward the new beginning that comes after any significant ending. And now that's being rational. Being rational, we maintain hope. This is the emotional. This card highlights the querent's subjective views and how the situation interacts with their emotions. This card invites us to be self-aware. Moreover, it can give us insight on how to understand ourselves and our desires better. Okay. And we have the Seven of Cups. Sorry, I'm looking around here because my program is making me think that it's not recording at all. A winged monster threatens a man lying on the rocks. The man has opened the vase that contained the monster. He now covers his face to avoid seeing the horrible creature, giving in to one's nightmares and fear of consequences. So the rational is we look at it as an ending which has inherent in it a new beginning. We keep hope alive there, but emotionally we're freaking out. Emotionally, we've got nightmares and big fears coming up. And then the last is synthesis. This card helps the querent put together and unite the four aspects that emerged in the previous cards. Every situation, every way we can react to it depends on multiple factors. Rationality or emotion alone cannot offer a complete solution. So interesting that the spread really just kind of seesaws back and forth between rational and emotional, rational and emotional. So we have the Four of Coins here. A maiden rests in a canopy bed on a stack of mattresses. Interesting that these are a lot like all of these cards I read before, except for the 10 there. A maiden, the search for maximum comfort and stability, taking care of one's belongings. So in the middle, the synthesis is, I just have to keep looking them up again. The synthesis is looking for maximum stability and comfort here, and taking care of your belongings. So in this time where things are rocking and rolling and shaking, where we have come across the deep water and we're feeling about, coming home and looking for that emotional comfort, rationally we know that, endings and beginnings come together, and we can maintain our rational optimism there. We deal with the fears that we have, but through all this, we're just really looking at how can I be stable and comfortable in this moment, and, putting your focus on just taking care of your business, taking care of your belongings, taking care of your business. I've been talking a lot lately about storing food and looking at the fact that we don't really know how far the economic hardships are going to affect us all. The sanctions, well, now I'm going to get topical, sorry. The sanctions against Russia are going to have economic impacts around the world, and we don't yet know what that's going to look like. So it is rational and reasonable and also emotionally comfortable to look at this and say, I'm going to take care of my own. I'm going to take care of my belongings, my home, and make sure that I have the things I need to be stable and comfortable going through this tower time. I mean, cool reading, but it's an interesting deck. I'm glad that I have it because there's a slightly new view here. And I'm glad I have it just because the artwork is incredible. So I would say, a deck for a beginner? Well, of course, any deck can be a deck for a beginner if you really are drawn to it and vibe with it. But it is a deck that you're going to have to work with on its own for a while if you're accustomed to traditional Waite-Smith images and Thoth images and whatever. It's going to take you a little while to get used to this deck in its own context, learning it from its own book and looking at it in its own context. So I hope you enjoyed that. I'm looking at my OBS and I have no idea how long this video has been because the timer isn't going, and I'm praying to God that it's actually recording because I don't want to do this again. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. If you are not a member of my channel, please subscribe and like that video and share it with someone that you think might like it as well. If there's a deck you would like me to read from or like me to review and you don't find it on my channel, there are almost 300 unboxings. So if you still can't find it, go to my Amazon wish list below and click on there. If you find it on the wish list, send it to me and I will read for you on my video. What a deal, right? All right, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me. I will see you next time, and until then, this is Luna. Blessed be.